Mohammed Marandi was on Katie Halper last night, and he said something interesting that I believe all Americans should consider. He said,
And said no enrichment, which is a violation of Iranian sovereignty. Iran, according to international law, has every right to enrich uranium. And it does so, Katie, because Iran is sanctioned. Iran has a nuclear power plant. It's planning to it is in the process of building more nuclear power plants, and Iran knows that if it cannot provide its own fuel, then if the United States blocks Iran from purchasing fuel, our nuclear power plants would shut down, and we would have an economic crisis. And for Iran, it's very important to use nuclear energy because we want to export more of our oil, because oil for us creates a lot of wealth.
his argument is that nuclear energy allows Iran to export oil or gas it would normally have to use for generating electricity. Yes, it costs billions of dollars to build nuclear power plants, but once they're built, electricity production is cheap. Both the UAE and Russia do this. Saudi Arabia wants to do it too. Iran is not innovating here. It simply wants to pursue the same economic benefits other nations enjoy. The U.S. bombing of Iran's enrichment facilities lowers the amount of uranium Iran can process for its reactor. Therefore, the U.S. is forcing a reduction in nuclear power in Iran. Let's assume it could close it completely down. And then let's look at what would happen if Iran could do the same to the U.S. That is, if Iran were able to bomb enrichment facilities in the U.S. and stop its nuclear power generation. What would that mean? It would mean that the U.S. would need to burn 16 trillion cubic feet of natural gas to replace the electricity currently generated by its nuclear power plants. The cost of that gas is around $54 billion a year. It would cost U.S. families more than $400 a year in extra electricity costs, so it's not trivial. And if you look at this chart of the history of natural gas production and prices, the possibilities are alarming. First, it's taken over 10 years to add 16 trillion cubic feet of natural gas to our production. Think about that. It's a lot. It would be like going back to 2014. Gas prices also fluctuate quite a bit. If we had to take 16 trillion cubic feet of natural gas off the market to run our power plants, we should expect its price to spike up considerably, enough that all Americans would see their electric bill double, triple, or even quadruple. Anyway, this is a complex subject, but Professor Marandi raises an interesting point. If Iran is not trying to build a nuclear weapon, then bombing its enrichment facilities only ends up making Iranians poorer. Would the U.S. like that done to it? If Iran had the power, would we want it reducing our standard of living? I doubt it. We don't hear the media asking these questions. Why aren't Americans informed about the benefits they get from nuclear power and why Iran has a legitimate desire to replicate the same?